Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Rodney and Sharon Wagner. And we're going to be discussing Rodney's fantastic book, Rod's Sudoku Tutorial. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com. And before we go any further, I do want to take this opportunity and point out that Rodney and Sharon were both brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by one of the best advertising firms in the business. And of course, I'm talking about Author Reputation Press. So listen, if you are a writer out there or you know someone that is, and either you or them have a creation, a writing creation that they need help moving, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and contact ARP. They're one of the best in the business to do it, and they specialize in taking your literary creation to the next level. So head on over to authorreputationpress.com today and gather all of the ways that they can help you. And listen, it is a true pleasure to have Rodney and Sharon here on the line. And, you know, right there in the title of Rodney's book, there's no beating around the bush, okay? Rod's Sudoku Tutorial. It's going to give you a lot of what you need to know about the discussion we're getting ready to have. Sudoku puzzles are something that has really, at least in my mind, taken off in terms of popularity. Here in the United States, and I'm sure it was around for much longer, but I remember in the early 2000s, it was probably the first time that I had come across a Sudoku puzzle. And if I'm being honest, like I've made a few attempts at solving some. I was never much of a puzzle solver, though, so it wasn't really something for me, and it was always very difficult to accomplish. But I know so many people that love doing them, and I'm sure, like, I don't know the statistics on this, but given the difficulty, right, and how much preparation will go into it and time-consuming it can be, I would assume that there's a correlation between Sudoku puzzles and a person's IQ, right? Because I personally think you gotta be pretty smart in order to solve them. Now, here's the treat. This book does not only have Sudoku puzzles, but again, it's a tutorial. So Rodney takes the time to really help break down Sudoku puzzles from the most basic of just explaining what they are to really helping you learn some helpful tips, right? And some great techniques that you can utilize in solving your own. I mean, these are things that you can find books on. You can find them in newspapers and magazines. Sudoku puzzles are very, very popular. Unless you've been living under a rock, yeah, I'm sure you've heard of them. So this is going to be a wonderful education for myself, as I know it's going to be for all of you as well. And please believe, people, we're only going to scratch the surface here today. By the time we are finished, you're going to need to run to Amazon and Barnes & Noble and purchase your copies yourself, because we're not going to give all of the tips away. You got to purchase it. You got to learn directly from the man himself and figure out those words that are on those pages. But since we have them here on the line, let's go ahead and jump right in. Rodney, Sharon, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you both for being guests. How are you doing today?
We're doing fine today.
Looking forward to this time with you, Benji.
Absolutely. Well, listen, the pleasure is all ours. Okay, we're absolutely looking forward to this. And, you know, I meant what I said in my opening. I know that this is something that is incredibly popular amongst so many varying communities. So I know my listening audience is really going to be able to take this for the gift that it is. So thank you for being a guest. We're really looking forward to this. Now, before we go into the book and what to expect within those tutorials, tell us a little bit more about your background.
Well, thank you, Benji. I think my teaching desire started when I was a freshman in high school. I taught the primary children at the church Sunday school. And that's where I learned how to really study and make it a presentation. And then, of course, after high school, I went into the community college and became a professor there. And I really had to study again for qualifications for the teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my teaching background. I come also to you with a background as a retired pastor, retired computer systems analyst, and last but not least, a retired college professor.
Wow. All right, Rodney, listen, man, people, could we have selected the more perfect embodiment of a person of distinction to be on our network? He is clearly an intellectual, and teaching is his background. So when we say a tutorial, you know it's coming from a knowledgeable place, not only in his background and his love for Sudoku puzzles, but also in being able to articulate things effectively to a reader in this instance, or a classroom. I mean, Rodney knows his stuff. I'm loving this here. Rodney, listen, we know that this is a tutorial, right? So I don't know if there's too much of a description that you'd like to give about your book, but of course you can. But let's start off with inspiration, because your background, as you've stated, is in education, and as well as a pastor. But where does the love for Sudoku puzzles fit into all of this?
In the early years, prior to 2005 here, I had seen the puzzles. I had bought books of puzzles, and I tried to solve them. Some I did, some were a failure. And so I began to separate what the difference was. For the ones that I could solve, what did I do differently than the ones I did not solve? And so that was the beginning of my 7 techniques that I have used to finish solving about 4,500 puzzles.
Ronnie, you can't drop that on us and not go into further elaboration. You talked about 7 individual techniques that you've created. Well, again, people, we're not going to go into all of them. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, I'll continue to say it. That's where you got to go to gather all of the techniques. But Rodney, since we have you here on the line, could you try to articulate one of those techniques and why you find it particularly useful in solving these puzzles?
Well, the first step that I always take is to divide the Sudoku puzzle into the 3 horizontal dark bars. I call these my sections.
Benji, could I insert something here?
Yes, please.
Before he went to start writing the book, we visited my sister in Canada, and she was wanting to learn how to play Sudoku. And so she was one of those who were very instrumental in encouraging him. And then I said, you know what, you're really good at this. So he started the book when he was 80 years old. And he worked on it for 3 years.
Wow.
So now is the culmination of all of that, with all of the techniques and encouragement from family and others. We're pretty close-knit family, and so we've both been encouraged by that. We were both widow and widower, and when we met, and we just celebrated our 25th anniversary.
That is beautiful. Congratulations on that. And thank you for contributing that, Sharon. Next question that I want to get into, and really a curiosity for myself, but purely opinion-based. But Rodney or Sharon, whichever would like to answer it, or both of you, why do you think Sudoku puzzles are so popular?
Well, it challenges the mind, and in fact, I'm not the best one on the Sudoku puzzles, I agree. But I try the easy ones, and that's about as far as I get, because I'm not the mathematician in the family. Rodney is. I'm more of the helper.
The the techniques are not mathematical calculations. Yes, you use visible inspection of the numbers that come printed with it, which are called in the trade the givens. They're the numbers, seed numbers that are put there. And so my first technique is to take 3 rows at a time. So you do all 9 rows, and you search for any number that appears twice in those 3 rows of 3, 6, and 9. So that eliminates a whole lot of possibilities for other cells. I call them cells because I had to work on trying not to get any copyrighted information in my book. And so I renamed all of the parts of the Sudoku puzzle to rows and columns and sections. And so you take one section at a time, one row at a time, and you count through all the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so that's a secret. And of course, when you find one number, you go to the next number.
Yeah.
That has 2 cardinal or seed numbers that I call them, right there in the row before you that you're working on. So don't look at the whole puzzle as being solved at one time. You solve it by taking little steps, one cell at a time. And pretty soon you know you've done them all. It just falls into place.
Rodney, when it comes to this book, Rod's Sudoku Tutorial, what would you say was a highlight for you in writing? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't anticipating before you began on the journey?
Maybe the best way I can answer that is 2 people that are very close friends of mine, very close. And the one had been solving Sudoku puzzles as he could by trying random numbers. I will call random numbers. He bought my book, and about 4 or 5 weeks later, he came back and said, "Rodney, do you remember when I bought your book?" And I said, oh yes, I do. How is it going? He says, well, in 5 weeks, I've learned more about why and how to solve these puzzles without experimentation. He says, you have organized it step by step, and it appears very easy. I think in the chapter 1, I have probably overdone, but that's a teacher in me. I try to show you every number, and if not, it won't go into a single cell.
Rodney, you talked about the teacher in you with regards to this book. Well, I want to still pull on that teacher in you a little bit more, okay? As we close out here, when it comes to paying it forward, right, for new writers out there listening in, listen, I'm an artist myself. I'm in a different medium, but I love having my platform to be able to pay it forward whenever the opportunities present themselves. Now, you are someone that has been through the writing process, and you've also gone through the gauntlet of getting your book published. And anybody that's been through the process understands that writing the book is only half the battle, right? So I'd love to take this opportunity and pick your brain a little bit for any new writers out there listening in right now that are embarking upon their own writing journey. What are some words of wisdom that you feel you can offer them to help them along their way?
You're never too old to follow your dream and make it hopefully come to fruition. And Author Reputation Press has done a marvelous job in creating this book in just an extraordinary format for everyone. And so that has been a big help. And it shows that even children, even if they were opening up a Sudoku book with the 9 different sections, they could even fill in the spaces, each one from 1 to 9, even to help in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be very fun. And with both of us in our retirement ages here, and being 88 and 83, we feel like God has really blessed us. And I really believe that this is something that would be enjoyable for anyone.
Absolutely. Listen, I love that. Thank you very much for sharing, Sharon. And last question here for either one of you. Listen, we've discussed so much information today. Is there anything else that maybe we haven't touched up on that you really want to make sure our listening audience is aware of pertaining to your book, Rod Sudoku Tutorial?
In summary, probably the 3 major steps is to break it down into sections or rows and columns, and begin with 1 row at a time, and seeing what numbers are missing in that row and column intersection. And that's the basic of all of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as writing it, it was very laborious for me because I have failing eyesight here, and I was very, very anemic. I was getting blood transfusions.
Oh, wow.
Oh, but I am on the road to recovery now, and I feel better. So
Wonderful.
I may have some more dreams later. And I would like to just publicly say thank you to my sister-in-law who saw me solving the puzzles and asked me to teach her how. And then my wife, who has encouraged me all the way, every step, and was actually my bookkeeper here, and took a lot of first-line business details off of my shoulders so I could have a better life.
You know, listen, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole here with this next one, but the answer that you just gave with regards to solving the puzzles, right? You talked about one of the most important things is breaking it down by columns, right? Breaking it down by rows and solving them individually. Well, taking that notion and just applying it to life, because of course here through People of Distinction, I'm always tying things back to our listening audience, right? To our human family. And isn't that just a wonderful notion for life? Whenever we're going through anything, any type of obstacle or adversity that we're facing, you want to break it down piece by piece. I think a lot of times when you try to solve things all at once is when it becomes overwhelming. You know, it reminds me of that old adage, and I'm going to butcher the quote a little bit, so I'll paraphrase, but it's the old adage of you don't build a wall all at once, right? You build a wall brick by brick. You lay that mortar down, you put one individual brick, and you lay it down as perfectly as you can, and then you move on to the next one. And I think that, again, as I am going down this rabbit hole here, what a wonderful thing to take from this book is, yeah, absolutely. On the surface, it is filled with these puzzles and it's filled with so many helpful tips and techniques. But if you're like me, you want to take a little bit more of a philosophical look, it has much more to offer than just the entertaining value of solving puzzles. This could really be, in a way, a snapshot to helping you on your life's journey. I absolutely love that. And listen, this was something that I wasn't even thinking about until Rodney gave that last answer. And what a wonderful way to close out. People, if you're like me, and I know you are sold, okay? You are heading over to Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com already and getting ready to purchase your copies. For everybody else, listen, you need to wake up. This is a wonderful resource, actually. This is a fantastic resource to add to your shelf. So head on over. The title is called Rod's Sudoku Tutorial. It's by Rodney L. Wagner. And you got Rodney to thank for it. And of course, since we have her here on the line, it's that old adage, behind every great man is an even greater woman. Sharon has played her part as well, and it's been a true delight having both of you here with us. Thank you once again for being guests on People of Distinction.
Thank you very much, and have a blessed day.
And thank you very much for your time today.